have you always had that courage to be vulnerable? Because that takes a certain amount of courage, you
I'm a
know?
very outspoken person. I will say no. I had a huge identity crisis in college and undergrad, and I think that was like what really got me to this point now. But when it comes to like being open and honest about my life, about what's going on, I don't hide behind anything. I'm gonna tell you exactly how it is. If you don't like it, tough. You know what I'm saying? I'm not here to cater to your feelings.
Right.
But it's for in terms of like being authentic and vulnerable in that sense. I think that after undergrad is when I really realized like, hey man, you were living behind a facade, like I was just explaining, and you were trying to make people just like you
Yeah.
in the sense of saying these lies and telling these people these different things, and it didn't even make sense. Like just be you, and if they like you, they like you. If they don't,
Yeah.
and be okay with that fact. And that's what I had to accept. So after undergrad, like around 21, 22, I was like, yeah, this from moving forward, this is who I am. And if you don't like it,
Yeah.
tough. I'm gonna be me in every room. I'm gonna act. I got ADHD, so I'm gonna be an ADHD insomniac. This is who I am. And if
Right.
you don't like it, then I'm not here to make you comfortable.
And you can even see it. One, you can see the people like you who are being authentic, and
Yeah.
I agree with you that the people who are more authentic are the ones who are going to last because you're being true to yourself.
Yeah.
And then you can also see the people who, I don't even want to say it's gimmicky, but you can see that it's more of an alter ego, or it's
Yeah.
more of they're trying to do something to get the views, get the likes. And I worry about them of, okay, you put that mask on, now you can never take that mask off and be who
Exactly.
you actually
It's
are.
my mom would always say, like, when you tell one lie, you have to, continue to tell more and more lies to,
Yeah.
ensure that the first lie still sounds believable. And
Right.
I treat it the same way. It's like you put this mask on, you have to continue doing that over and over and over and over again, because you can't backtrack and say, oh, I'm not that anymore. And then
Facts.
once you do, and when you do, when folks typically try to get to that point, it's like, oh, I'm not that anymore. If I grab, it kind of takes all of the fans who were attached to that away.
Yeah.
And so you lose a lot of part. Like, just be honest and open and upfront from the beginning, and whoever gonna cater to it, gonna gravitate to it.
Right. No, that's a fact. Do you have now with that power and with that responsibility, also there's a double-edged sword of it,
Yeah.
because you're talking about personal things, and obviously you have relationships, family, friends, romantic relationships in your life. Do you ever get any backlash from them or follow-up arguments from something that you end up putting out in the song?
Nah, not necessarily. Like, you'll hear like the one-off comments. I mentioned my mom and stuff like that, and me and my mom kind of have a struggling relationship. I love my mom to death, and I think every child should. But me and my mom have a very struggling relationship in terms of just like the way we connect. We're so much alike that we clash. We have very big personalities, and I think that's the hugest thing in terms of like what we, why we clash. I often get the one-off comments like, "Oh, why are you talking about that?" And it's like, this is the truth. Like,
Right.
know it. You like, don't try to hide behind it now because it's out there.
Yeah.
And even with relationships and stuff like that. Like, I'm currently in a relationship now, but I think that's the thing. Like, she understands that this is what he came from. You know what I'm saying? He's not bringing this with him. This is just his way of venting. This is my playground in a sense. This is me
Yes.
being a child again. So my girlfriend, very, very much so, she pushes me to get in the studio. She pushes me to write because it's a way of venting. She realizes it's a way of venting. I'm almost 2 months sober now, and because of her.
Nice.
So it's a blessing now that she recognizes that this is his art, his little muse. Like, this is what he can do to his canvas to get all of the things that he needs to say and feel out,
Right.
to where he doesn't bring it into our relationship, and he can be himself here without all of that. So I thank her a lot for that too. She's a commendable woman. But even beyond that, just past relationships, I've never, God forbid, but I've never had someone come to me like, "Oh, you brought this up in a song."
Good.
But
good.
it does like always haunts me, I guess, because I'm speaking about someone that I now have said I'm done with,
Right.
and now I'm writing about you. So I don't want you to get the interpretation that I'm still thinking about you. This is just me letting it go.
Right.
And I always say my best song is my worst song, or my new song is my like worst song, because it's like the best thing I ever wrote is the worst thing I ever wrote, because I'm always trying to get past that hill.
Wait, break that down for me again. So you're
Yeah.
saying your newest, the songs you make are your best, are your worst songs,
Yeah.
because what's next to come is gonna be better than
Yeah.
what you already wrote.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's it's always me just trying to get over a hill. It's like I have to get this out first. Like you
Yeah.
can't. I treat everything in phases. Like life is a phase. Like we all grow at an age. That's a phase. So like if I write this now, this was just a portion or a deposit in the sense of what I was going through then. The next, like that's over now. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So like the next thing, I have to have more experiences, more moments, be in places like this to where I can write something else. And I pray that it's going to be even better than what was the last thing, because that's over now. Like I can't go back and be like, oh, I got to get back in that relationship so I can have some more stuff to write about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's just toxic.
Yeah.
So I'm always, even now, speaking of relationships, it's like I'm in a great positive relationship right now, and a lot of the music you hear is very sad, very somber, sometimes very toxic, and it's hard to write when you're in a positive environment about bad things going on. So now the next project, we'll get into that, but it's more positive. Like you'll actually be like, oh yeah, this man is actually writing not only just good music, positive music, but it's like it's better than that.
Right. And it's authentic to you, like you've
Yeah.
been doing. It's where you are. Because when you were saying that, I noticed how much of a factor it is of your music being your ability to vent and to be able to kind of overcome and put things in the past that you've been through.
Exactly.
And I think that's beautiful. So I was wondering, I was like, well, can you write about things that you aren't currently feeling? Like if you're in love, can you write about heartbreak or heartbreak?
I can write about, like, in my relationship now, I love this woman to death, and I can talk about everything. Like this passion comes from pain. And she understands that, like everyone around me understands that.
Yeah.
Like this passion, the way I speak, the way I carry myself, the music that you hear, it is birthed from pain. So a lot of this is going to be very, very sometimes often. Tell people I make happy, sad songs. Like I could have, but I didn't. It's a very upbeat track, but it's very, very sad, because there was a lot of situations where I was getting blamed for a lot of things just because of who the person that I was. You know what I'm saying? He a noob on campus, and a lot of, girls wanted to be with the noobs and da da da. And it was just like, oh, hey, like I could have, but I didn't. And I had to take that pain and champion it into a song. So beyond that, now being in love, being in a happy environment, it kind of, puts turns the tables, and it's like, now I have to write about like affection,
right,
and devotion, and wanting and pursuing a woman in the positive manner. So that's what you're gonna hear a lot in these new tracks. But that passion previously was born from pain.
That's deep, and I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. Outside of the music, obviously, inside the music, you talk a lot about the struggles of relationships, and even us speaking now, you've shared some of your history about some of the maybe more toxic relationships you had in the past compared to your very healthy relationship now. What are some things that you think are important in relationships to have a healthy relationship?
Communication is the biggest thing. Still working on that. It's a everyday struggle. But communication, I think a lot of men, especially in terms of vulnerability, don't open up enough about how we feel in terms of a situation. We just kind of get the blows and like, okay, how can I cater to what's going on for her to make her feel comfortable? And a lot of the things that my girlfriend now has done is she's ensuring that I express my side of the story or how I'm feeling as well. She just doesn't want a half-baked cake, in my opinion. I think she sees it as that we are a whole. And in order for us to make this whole continue, we can't just have what I want. We have to, balance that with what you want as well. So just open communication, vulnerability. I speak primarily for men. I don't like to speak on what women should and shouldn't do. I don't like to champion what they can and can't say. But specifically for men, I think just being open and honest. And I think that comes with a grain of salt, because you can be honest, but you cannot be righteous. And a lot of men be like, oh, I was upfront with her. I told her I didn't want a relationship. That doesn't make you a good person. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make you a righteous man. And I think a lot of men have to get over that hill too. Just because you're honest doesn't make you righteous. You know, you have to learn how to balance those things.